Retirement was supposed to mean peace, but one day she had to act not as an ordinary American woman, but as a true hero. Captain Sarah Mitchell stared at the steam rising from her coffee mug, watching it dissipate into the morning air of her Denver apartment. 3 years. 3 years since her boots last touched Afghan soil. 3 years since she'd heard the crack of gunfire or felt the weight of her M4 carbine. 3 years of what civilians called normal life. The apartment was quiet, too quiet for someone who'd spent 15 years surrounded by the constant hum of military bases. Her medals sat in a box under the bed. Her uniform hung in the back of the closet, pressed and ready, though she told herself she'd never need it again. The Beretta M9 service pistol was locked in a safe, its magazine stored separately, following every safety protocol even in retirement, and then. But her phone was about to ring, and everything would change. Sarah didn't know it yet, but in exactly 47 seconds, her carefully constructed civilian life would shatter like glass hit by shrapnel. She didn't know that her past was hunting her, that old enemies had found her address, or that innocent lives would hang in the balance before the sun set. She took another sip of coffee, savoring the bitter taste. Outside her window, Denver was waking up. Cars moved through the streets, people hurried to work, normal people living normal lives. The phone rang. "Sarah? It's Marcus Chen. We've got a situation." Marcus's voice was tight with urgency. He ran the volunteers' search and rescue team she joined 6 months ago, her attempt at finding purpose in civilian life. "There's a fire at the Riverside Shopping Center. Multiple explosions. Fire department's en route, but... Sarah, there are people trapped inside, children. We need everyone we can get." Sarah's hand trembled slightly as she set down her mug. The familiar adrenaline surge hit her system, that chemical cocktail her body had been trained to respond to. How bad? Bad. Real bad. "Can you? 10 minutes? Sarah cut him off. She was already moving, muscle memory taking over. Grab keys, check phone battery. Quick mental inventory of what she might need. As she rushed to her truck, a memory flashed unbidden. Colonel Harrison's gravelly voice during her final debrief. "Mitchell, you can take off the uniform, but you'll never stop being a soldier. It's in your DNA now." She'd argued with him then. Told him she was done. Finished. "Ready for peace." The colonel had just smiled sadly. "We'll see, Captain, we'll see." In the Riverside Shopping Center was chaos incarnate. Black smoke billowed from multiple points in the massive structure. People streamed out of exits, some carrying children, others supporting the injured. The wail of sirens filled the air, but the fire trucks were still blocks away, caught in traffic. Sarah parked haphazardly and sprinted toward the scene. Her trained eye immediately cataloged details: 3 separate smoke sources, structural damage to the east wing, approximately 200 civilians in various states of panic. "Everyone stay calm," she shouted, her command voice cutting through the chaos. "Move to the parking lot!" Stay low if you're still inside." A security guard stumbled toward her, his face streaked with soot. "Lady, you can't. I'm Captain Mitchell, U.S. Army, retired." "What's your sit rep?" The military terminology came automatically. The guard blinked, then straightened slightly. "There's a daycare on the 2nd floor, east wing. They didn't make it out. The stairs are blocked." Sarah's blood ran cold. Children. Of course it would be children. How many? Maybe 15 kids, 3 adults. But, lady, the fire department said Sarah was already running. Behind her, she heard Marcus's voice calling her name, but she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Not when children were trapped. The shopping center's main entrance was a wall of smoke. Min Sarah dropped low, using her shirt to cover her nose and mouth. Visibility was near zero, but she'd operated in worse conditions. Sandstorms in Iraq. Whiteout blizzards in Afghanistan's mountains. This was just another hostile environment. She moved by instinct and training, one hand on the wall for guidance. The heat was intense, growing worse as she pushed deeper into the building. Her eyes watered, lungs burning despite her makeshift filter. And then she heard it, crying. Children's voices, high and terrified. Sarah oriented toward the sound, found a stairwell. Locked. Of course. She kicked it hard, right next to the lock, a technique she'd learned in urban warfare training. Once. Twice. The door splintered open. The stairwell was clearer, the smoke rising. Sarah took the steps 3 at a time, her legs remembering thousands of training runs, countless hours of conditioning. Second floor. Another locked door. Another series of kicks. She burst into a hallway filled with smoke and found them. A cluster of children and 3 adults huddled against a wall, trapped between the fire and a collapsed section of ceiling. "I'm here to help," Sarah announced, dropping to their level. "Is anyone hurt?" One of the adults, a young woman with ash-covered blonde hair, looked up with desperate eyes. "The ceiling came down. We can't get past." The children. "We're getting out," Sarah said firmly. "All of us." She did a quick count. 12 children, ages probably 3 to 5. 3 adults. Doable, but it would take multiple trips. That's when Sarah noticed something that made her soldiers' instincts scream warnings. The pattern of the explosions. The way the ceiling had collapsed. And this wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. The blast patterns were textbook sabotage. Someone had wanted maximum casualties, maximum chaos. Someone who knew what they were doing. Her phone vibrated. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Hello, Captain Mitchell." The voice was familiar, accented. A ghost from her past. "Did you miss me?" Sarah's blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. Knew it from a compound in Kandahar, from interrogation recordings, from nightmares that still woke her some nights. "Rashid," she breathed. "Nah. You do remember. Good. I told you we would meet again, though I expected you to figure it out sooner. Getting slow in your old age, Captain? These are innocent people. Children. As was my son. Do you remember him? No? Let me refresh your memory. Operation Thunderstrike. You called in the airstrike. My family was collateral damage, I believe your report said." Sarah closed her eyes. She remembered. God help her, she remembered everything. The intelligence had been solid. The compound had housed a bomb-making cell. But the intelligence had been wrong about one thing. The bomber's family had been visiting. And that was an war? Yes, Captain, it was war. And war never ends. It just takes breaks. The line went dead. Sarah shoved the phone back in her pocket. Deal with Rashid later. Save the children now. Priorities. Always priorities. "Listen to me," she told the adults. "We're going out through the store on the other side. It'll be smoky, but I know a route. I need you to keep the children calm and together." "How do you know?" one of them started. "Because I'm very good at my job," Sarah said simply. "Now, everyone hold hands. Make a chain. No one lets go." She lifted the smallest child, a boy who couldn't have been more than 3, and positioned herself at the front of the human chain. The smoke was thicker now, the heat increasing. Time was running out. Sarah led them through the maze of the shopping center, using every trick she knew. Stay low. Feel for heat before opening doors. Count paces to maintain orientation. Behind her, she could hear the children crying, the adults murmuring reassurances. They hit a wall of flame blocking their path. Sarah cursed internally. Rashid had been thorough. "And back up," she ordered. "Stay together." She found another route, longer but clearer. Her lungs screamed for clean air. The child in her arms had gone quiet. Too quiet. She checked quickly, still breathing, but they needed out now, and a window. Sarah saw it through the smoke, a display window in a storefront. She passed the child to one of the adults, grabbed a metal trash can, and hurled it through the glass. The window exploded outward, and blessed fresh air rushed in. And out, everyone out, helped boost children through the opening, adults catching them on the other side. The relief on their faces as they breathed clean air was beautiful. One by one, they escaped. Sarah went last, rolling through the window just as another explosion rocked the building. Outside, chaos had evolved into organized response. Fire trucks, ambulances, police cars. Sarah handed off the child she'd carried to a paramedic and started to fade back, but a hand caught her arm. "Anne." That was incredible, the blonde daycare teacher said, tears streaming down her soot-stained face. "You saved us. You saved all of us." Sarah managed a tired smile. "Just doing what needed doing, ma'am," but her phone was ringing again. Unknown number. "Impressive, Captain, but we're just getting started. Check your apartment." The line went dead. Sarah's stomach dropped. Her apartment. Her sanctuary. What had he done? She found Marcus in the crowd, grabbed him. "I need your car." "Sarah, what's going on? You look." Keys. Now." Something in her face made him hand them over without argument. Sarah ran for his vehicle, her mind racing. Rashid had found her apartment. What else did he know? Who else was in danger? North. The drive home was a blur of red lights ignored and speed limits shattered. Sarah's mind cataloged possibilities, ran threat assessments. Bomb in the apartment? Ambush waiting? Something worse? She parked a block away, approached on foot. Old habits. Never go straight in. Always have an exit strategy. The building looked normal. Too normal. Sarah's instincts screamed danger, but she had to know. She climbed the stairs. Elevator was a kill box. Always take the stairs. Her door was ajar. Sarah pushed it open with her foot, staying back. No explosion. She entered low and fast, checking corners. Clear. And on her kitchen table, a manila envelope. Inside, photographs. Her in Afghanistan. Her team. Their faces circled in red. Some crossed out. The ones who died since. The ones still alive had addresses written beneath their photos. And a note. "You took my family. Now I take yours. Your military family. One by one. Unless. There was always an unless. With men like Rashid and Sarah's phone rang. She knew who it would be. "What do you want?" "Justice, Captain. You. Surrender yourself to me and your friends live. Refuse, and I hunt them down, starting with..." Paper rustling. Sergeant First Class Marcus Chen. "Yes, your rescue friend was one of your soldiers. Surprised? You have 24 hours. Rashid. 24 hours, Captain. Oh, and going to the authorities would be unwise. I have friends everywhere. Even in your police. Even in your FBI. 24 hours. The line went dead. Sarah sank into a chair, mind racing. Marcus. He'd never mentioned serving under her, but then again, she'd had hundreds of soldiers over the years. She pulled out her laptop, started searching. There, Operation Enduring Freedom 2018, Marcus Chen, combat engineer, attached to her unit for 3 months. How had she not recognized him? How had he not said anything? Her phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. "Heard you took my car. Everything okay?" Sarah stared at the message. Did Marcus know about Rashid? Was he part of this, or just another target? She texted back. "Fine, we need to talk. In person." "My place? Jennifer's making dinner." Jennifer, Marcus's wife. Another potential target. The circle of danger kept expanding. An N? No. Somewhere public. Civic Center Park. 1 hour. "Sarah, you're scaring me." "What's going on?" She didn't reply. Instead, she went to her safe, spun the combination. The Beretta was there, waiting. She'd sworn she was done with weapons, done with violence. But promises were luxury items, and she couldn't afford luxuries anymore. Sarah loaded the pistol, chambered a round, tucked it into her waistband. Then she made a list. Every soldier who'd served under her, who was still alive. 37 names, 37 potential targets, and 10 she couldn't protect them all. Not alone, but she couldn't go to the authorities either. Rashid's claim about having people inside law enforcement might be a bluff, but it might not. She'd seen too much corruption in Afghanistan to dismiss the possibility. Think Mitchell. Think like the officer you were. Assets, allies, options. Civic Center Park was crowded with evening joggers and families. Good. Witnesses made violence less likely. Sarah spotted Marcus sitting on a bench, nervously checking his phone. She approached from his blind spot, old habits again, and sat down beside him. Then, Jesus, Sarah, he jumped. You scared me. Why didn't you tell me you served under me? Marcus's face went through several expressions before settling on resignation. I wanted to, when you joined the rescue team. But you seemed like you wanted to leave all that behind. Fresh start and all. What do you remember about Operation Thunderstrike? Thunderstrike? Marcus frowned. That was... Wait, that was the compound raid. The one where intel was bad. We hit a bomb maker, but his family. His eyes widened. Oh shit, the fire today. That wasn't random, was it? Sarah showed him the photos. Watched his face go pale. Rashid al-Mahmoud, she said. The bomb maker's brother. He blames me for the airstrike. Now he's here, and he's hunting everyone who was part of that operation. We need to call in no. Sarah's voice was sharp. He says he has people inside. Could be a bluff, could be real. Can't risk it. So what do we do? Sarah had been thinking about that. The conclusion she'd reached went against everything she'd tried to become in retirement. But sometimes you had to be who you were, not who you wanted to be. We go on the offensive, she said. Rashid expects me to react, to defend. He doesn't expect me to hunt him. Sarah, we're not in Afghanistan anymore. We can't just... Can't we? She turned to face him fully. Marcus, he's going to kill 37 people unless I surrender to him. And if I do surrender, he'll kill them anyway. And me. Men like Rashid don't forgive. So what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we remember who we are, what we were trained to do. I'm suggesting we find him first. And Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, Jennifer doesn't know I was in combat. Told her I was a mechanic. She doesn't need to know now. If I do this, if we do this, I need to keep her safe. We'll keep everyone safe, Sarah promised. But I need to know you're with me. All the way. Marcus met her eyes. She saw the soldier he'd been looking back at her. Hoo-ah, Captain. What's the plan? Sarah smiled grimly. First, we need the rest of the team. Who else from Thunderstrike is in Colorado? Rodriguez is in Colorado Springs. Washington's in Fort Collins. Martinez. I think she's in Wyoming now, but close. Contact them. Carefully. We meet tomorrow. 0600. I'll send coordinates. What about the others? The ones in other states? One problem at a time, Sergeant. For now, we focus on building our operational capacity. It felt strange, falling back into military terminology, but also right. Like putting on a perfectly fitted glove, Marcus stood to leave, then paused. Sarah? What if he's watching us right now? He probably is, Sarah admitted. But he wants to play games. Wants me to suffer. That gives us time. Time for what? Time to remind him that he's not the only one who learned lessons in Afghanistan. After Marcus left, Sarah didn't go home. Home was compromised. Instead, she drove to a storage unit on the outskirts of Denver. Unit 247, paid for in cash, under an assumed name. Her insurance policy, inside. Everything she'd told herself she'd never need again. Body armor, tactical gear, communications equipment, and weapons. Not many. She wasn't a militia nut, but enough. A rifle, extra magazines, night vision goggles she'd bought at a surplus store. Sarah geared up methodically. Sarah stood in the storage unit, staring at the gear she'd sworn she'd never need again. But promises were luxuries, and luxury was something she couldn't afford anymore. Not with 37 lives hanging in the balance. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Running already, Captain? I expected more fight from you. I'm not running, Rashid. I'm hunting. Silence, then a low chuckle. Ah, there's the soldier I remember. Good. It will make this more interesting. But remember, 24 hours. Tick-tock. Sarah ended the call and finished gearing up. The weight of the tactical vest was familiar, almost comforting. She'd spent more years wearing armor than not. Maybe that's who she really was. Not the civilian trying to find peace, but the warrior pretending to be normal. By dawn, Sarah had assembled her team. Rodriguez, Washington, Martinez, and Chen. 5 soldiers who'd shared blood and sand in Afghanistan. 5 people who understood that sometimes the war followed you home. They met in an abandoned warehouse outside Denver. Sarah had swept it for surveillance devices. Found 2. Rashid was thorough, but she was better. And here's the situation. Sarah began, spreading out maps and photos. Rashid al-Mahmoud has a network here. The shopping center attack was just the opening move. He wants me to surrender, but that's not happening. We're going to find him first. In Washington, Ever the tactician studied the explosion patterns from the mall. This is professional work. He's got help. Probably a full cell. Agreed, Sarah said. Which means we need to be smart. This isn't Afghanistan. We can't kick down doors and clear rooms. We need intelligence. I might have something Martinez offered. My cousin works cybercrimes for Denver PD. Says they've been tracking suspicious money transfers from overseas, Middle Eastern origins. Could be connected. Carefully, Sarah warned. Rashid claims he has people inside law enforcement. My cousin's solid, Martinez insisted. But I'll be discreet. They spent the morning planning, falling back into the rhythm of a tactical team. By noon, they had leads. By evening, they had a target. The warehouse on the industrial side of town looked abandoned, but thermal imaging showed heat signatures inside. 7, maybe 8 individuals. Could be innocent, Rodriguez whispered as they observed from a distance. Could be, Sarah agreed. But that's Rashid's car parked around back. Same one from the security footage at my apartment building. They waited until full dark. Sarah felt the familiar pre-mission calm settle over her. This was what she knew, what she was good at, maybe what she was meant for. And remember, she told her team, we want Rashid alive. He's the only one who can call off the hits on the others. They moved in silence, shadows among shadows. Sarah took point, her team falling into formation behind her like they'd never left Afghanistan. The warehouse door was locked. Rodriguez had it open in seconds, and inside, voices speaking Arabic. Sarah's team spread out, taking positions. She counted down on her fingers. N3, 2, 1, N. Nobody move, Sarah commanded, stepping into the light. Hands where I can see them. Chaos erupted, men diving for weapons. Sarah's team responding with trained precision. Less lethal shots. Beanbag rounds and tasers. They needed information, not bodies. In seconds, it was over. 6 men down, groaning but alive. But no Rashid. Clear the building! Sarah ordered. They found him in an office upstairs, calmly sipping tea like he'd been expecting them. Captain Mitchell, he said pleasantly, you're early. I said 24 hours. Change of plans. Sarah kept her weapon trained on him. You're going to call off your dogs. Now, am I? Rashid smiled. Tell me, Captain, do you know why I waited 3 years? Why I let you think you were safe? Sarah didn't answer, but something cold settled in her stomach, and because I wanted you to have something to lose, Rashid continued. A life. Friends, hope. You took everything from me in an instant. I wanted you to know how that feels. Your brother was making bombs that killed children, Sarah said. We had solid intelligence. My brother was many things, Rashid interrupted. But that night, he was just an uncle playing with his nephew, my son, 6 years old. Do you know what a Hellfire missile does to a 6-year-old body, Captain? Sarah's weapon didn't waver, but her throat tightened. It was war. Collateral damage happens. I've regretted. Regret? Rashid laughed bitterly. Your regret doesn't resurrect the dead. But I'm not here for your regret. I'm here for balance. So kill me, Sarah said. I'm here. Take your revenge. But leave the others out of it. Still the noble soldier, Rashid mused. Very well. I'll make you a deal, Captain. Single combat. You and me. If you win, I call off everything. My men stand down. Your people live. If I win, he shrugged. Sarah, no, Marcus warned. It's a trap. But Sarah was already lowering her weapon. Terms? Hand to hand. No weapons. To the death or surrender. My men won't interfere if yours don't. Sarah looked at her team, saw the protest in their eyes, but also understanding. This was bigger than tactics now. This was about ending cycles of violence. Deal, she said. They cleared a space in the warehouse. Sarah's team on one side, Rashid's men on the other. She stripped off her tactical gear, rolled her shoulders. Rashid did the same. He was bigger than her, but she'd fought bigger. He was trained. She could see it in how he moved. But she was trained, too. They circled each other, looking for openings. Rashid struck first, a lightning-fast combination that Sarah barely avoided. He was good. Very good. But Sarah had learned to fight in places where losing meant dying. She weathered his initial assault, learned his patterns. When he overextended on a punch, she was ready. The fight was brutal. No rules, no referee, just two people carrying the weight of the dead. Sarah took hits that would have dropped most people, gave as good as she got. Blood on the concrete, the harsh sound of labored breathing. And 20 minutes in, both fighters were exhausted. Rashid had Sarah in a chokehold. She was fading, seeing spots. But she managed to whisper, "And your son, what was his name?" Rashid's grip loosened slightly. "What? Your son. What was his name?" "Amir," Rashid said, his voice cracking. His name was Amir. "I'm sorry about Amir," Sarah gasped. "I'm sorry he died. I'm sorry I killed him. But killing my people won't bring him back." "Nothing will bring him back." Rashid's grip tightened again. "No," Sarah agreed, her vision darkening. "Nothing will, but you can choose. Choose what his memory means. Does it mean more death, or does it mean stopping this?" She felt Rashid trembling, felt his tears on her neck. The grip loosened. Sarah could have reversed, could have attacked. She didn't. "And I see him every night," Rashid whispered. "Every night he asks why I wasn't there to protect him." "I see them too," Sarah admitted. "All of them. Every life I took. Every life I failed to save. We're both haunted, Rashid, both broken by that war. But we don't have to break others." For a long moment they stayed frozen. Then Rashid released her, stumbling back. He looked older suddenly, deflated, and tired, he said simply. "So tired of carrying this hate." "Then put it down," Sarah said, rubbing her throat. "Just put it down." And Rashid looked at his men, then at Sarah's team. Finally, he pulled out a phone, dialed a number, spoke rapidly in Arabic. When he finished, he turned to Sarah in. "It's done. The contracts are canceled. Your people are safe." "Just like that?" "Just like that." He smiled sadly. "You know what the worst part is, Captain? Amir loved American movies, and cowboys especially. He would have liked you." Sarah felt tears sting her eyes. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry." "I know," Rashid said. "So am I. Sorry for all of it." The authorities arrived 20 minutes later. Sarah's team had called them once the fight was over. Rashid and his men surrendered peacefully. He would face justice for the shopping center attack, but Sarah would testify about the circumstances, about a father driven mad by grief. As they led him away, Rashid paused. "Captain, try to find peace. Real peace. Not for me. For Amir. He would want people to find peace." Sarah nodded, unable to speak. And Sarah stood in front of a different building. Not a shopping center or a warehouse, but a community center. And the sign read, "Amir House, support for military families and war refugees." Marcus stood beside her. "You sure about this?" "Yeah," Sarah said. "I've got money saved. Disability benefits I never used. It's enough to get started." From soldier to civilian to, what? Social worker? Someone who helps, Sarah said simply. Someone who builds instead of destroys. Inside, families were gathering. American veterans struggling with PTSD. Afghan refugees trying to build new lives. People broken by war, trying to heal together. And Sarah had written to Rashid in prison, told him about the center. He'd written back one line. Amir would be proud. Maybe he would. Maybe finding peace wasn't about forgetting the war, but about choosing what to do with its lessons. Maybe being a hero wasn't about the battles you fought, but about the bridges you built after. Sarah walked into the center, ready to begin. The war was over. The real work was just beginning. And somewhere, perhaps, a 6-year-old boy who loved cowboy movies was smiling.